Hi, babe. Sure, thank you for your question, and you're not the first one to ask me that question. I've had that question probably.
I want to start this video by saying that I'm not asking for money and I'm not asking for sympathy. What I'm asking for is if you are a young 14, 16, 21-year-old girl, listen up. I drove to the grocery store. I need to grab some milk and bread and a couple things, flipped open the bank app on my phone, and I've been sitting in my car crying ever since because I never have enough money. And why do I never have enough money? Because when I was a 19-year-old girl, I fell in love. My Mormon faith told me that I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I got married. I started having babies. I dropped out of college. I never had a career. My only jobs that I ever had in life were a waitress at the Olive Garden and managing a pretzel maker in a mall. Oh, my first couple years of marriage, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I bought a windshield business. I was 20. And my Mormon stake president reminded me that women weren't supposed to work, so I quit my own business, handed it over to my husband, took my name off of it. I would work our family business throughout the next 24 years of my marriage, but I never got paid. I didn't have a salary. My name wasn't on it. I literally worked for room and board. That's it. I would eventually also launch a custom home building company with my uncle as the architect and my friends as the builder, my designs, my realtor. But again, because my husband was the man, his name was on all of the projects, his name was on the business. I remember one of the last custom homes that I built, we sold it and made about a $260,000 profit. That money all went into his bank account. I didn't even have a bank account. I should have said that in the beginning. I never had a bank account. He would give me little envelopes of cash to go grocery shopping with. Anyway, that house sells, the money goes in the bank. I just asked if I could buy myself a piano with the money. I had worked on building that house for 2 years. All of the money went into his bank account. Nothing was under my name. I got a piano and I got a free house to live in. And I got groceries. So I found myself divorced at age 44 just 5 years ago, and within just a few months I was living in my car while he made about $250,000. He would eventually quit that job so that he wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support. He has only paid alimony one time ever in the 5 years since we've been divorced. Once ever. Right after my divorce, I remember being really confident about my ability to get a job, so I put together a resume. I remember one of the first interviews that I had as a management position for a windshield company, similar to the one that we had run. And the man actually laughing as he was interviewing me, like he was really sympathetic. He wasn't being a douchebag, but he was laughing. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You helped manage your family windshield business with your husband, but you were mostly a stay-at-home mom, and all you did was like the marketing and the hiring, firing, and some of the strategy for the business. But it became really apparent that I needed so many more skills to have any type of management job. I couldn't even work the basic computers. He told me in the interview, please don't apply for any more jobs like this. You are not qualified at all. You're not capable of doing this unless you go back to school and get your degree or get some different experience. And so I ended up, my first job after my divorce was $11 an hour, 4 hours a day, working as an assistant to a school teacher in an elementary school. I made $44 a day. For 24 years, I lived in $1 million homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat, whether or not I could buy myself a fucking jug of milk and a loaf of bread. So I had my 5th surgery in 2 years, 2 weeks ago, and I'm supposed to be in bed resting, and I can't because I've worked 7 days a week since my divorce 5 years ago, which is why I'm covered in paint and looking like crap. We actually have a 4-day weekend here in Tucson, and since my partner isn't working, he's working on furniture flip partner projects with me. I have no retirement. I have no savings, no education, no resume. I was almost a straight A student throughout all of my education. I went to college at age 17. I had dreams for my future. I'm working so hard to get myself out of just perpetual side hustle hell. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder why. Why I didn't have a fucking backup plan. Why my kids eating and having stability was dependent on a romantic relationship. Why nobody told me to put money in the bank. Why nobody told me don't have babies until you have an education and some experience. Don't have so many kids. I wish somebody had told me to put my name on our vehicle loans and to put my name on our houses. I wish somebody had told me that it's okay to put those babies in daycare for a couple days a week and go to college and have a job. And I think I need to do an entire Tradwife sequel, because you can be happy and rich and loving your life like Ballerina Farm until the guy walks out. I want you guys to imagine for a minute, even rich Hannah, if Deanna walked out, if all of his financial backing and he had to sell the farm, and then what does she have? Find another rich boy to marry? I just don't want one more woman to DM me, comment, send me their stories, cry to me about how hard it is for them to support their families, and I am so tired of living my own story. We have to make this stop. Raise your daughters to be financially independent. Focus on their futures and educations just as much as you focus on your sons. I wish that someone had done that for me. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat, whether or not I could buy myself a fucking
That was a former Tradwife who was talking about how her whole financial livelihood and her life in general was dependent on her husband, and how that all fell apart when he decided to divorce her because she had not gone to college. She didn't have anything in her name. She didn't have her own bank account. She didn't have her own checking account. She didn't have any business stuff on her resume that she could utilize to get a job when he decided to leave. And I'm seeing more and more and more Tradwives coming out and talking about this very thing, that they did it. They were in it for the long haul. They birthed 4, 5, 6 kids for that man to decide one day he was going to up and leave. Because like she said, he didn't love her anymore. He didn't find her attractive anymore. There wasn't anything there anymore. So he held all the financial power and decided to leave, and he took that with him, and he took that away. Nobody plans on getting divorced when they get married, but you have to cover your own ass. You have to look out for you, because nobody else will. So if you're not married yet and you have an idea that you want to stay at home and raise children, wonderful. Get a prenup. Put it in there that you are to be paid X amount of money a month or a year, like a salaried employee. You get benefits, you get 401k, you get retirement, so that you at least have something to fall back on if you don't have any time while you're raising children to do a side hustle, to work, to bring in your own income, or even make sure you have your own bank account where you're taking out money to put aside for you in the off case that something like this were to happen. It is never a safe situation for women to be solely financially dependent on another human being in their life, but especially a man who can change his mind at the drop of a hat and take everything out from under you and take everything away.
This is the most insidious part of these Tradwife influencers, is they're not even Tradwives. They are not dependent on their husbands. They have their own money from influencing us to want to be Tradwives. But they've found a way around the worst part of being a Tradwife, the part that made us rebel against being a Tradwife and go get our own jobs, which is Tradwives are dependent on their husbands because they make all the money and we do all of the unpaid labor. They are getting paid for their labor, for selling you the aspirational life of being a Tradwife, while other people do the labor behind the scenes that make that aspirational, soft, easy life possible. They have childcare we never see. They probably have assistants and managers. The lifestyle of a true Tradwife is completely dependent on whether or not their husband wants to keep them around. But these Tradwife influencers, if they're good at their job, are very, very financially secure on their own. And something that bothers me so much is this Tradwife content, which is very intentionally trying to sell us a reality that just does not exist, is creating Tradwife light content, which I kind of think of it as, which is just normal, everyday people, younger women mostly, making these videos that are like, why did we ever want to work? Why wouldn't I just want to stay home and cook and clean and take care of the kids? Which is fine. But the trad wife content is propaganda to get you to think that that is an easy, soft, leisurely, safe life. It is none of those things, unless you join the pyramid scheme and start selling the lie of the easy, comfortable, worry-free, secure life of the trad wife to other impressionable women.
We're talking about trad wives again today, and oh my God, do I have a story for you. TikTok ruined my husband of 12 years. Now he wants a trad wife and we're getting divorced. I'm going to go through and summarize the article, but basically that like they got married, they were never a traditional couple, they both worked, they both had the same hours at work, and all of a sudden he started watching trad wife content and idolizing a specific content creator and started making like mean, nasty comparative comments to her and talking about how now he wants a submissive trad wife. Even though she said she never wanted to be a homemaker or a stay-at-home mom, and they had been living 12 years of their marriage with a very, very equal dynamic, and all of a sudden he becomes verbally abusive. He says he wants a submissive wife, that he deserves better, and yada, yada, yada. He ends up contacting other women, having emotional affairs, and now they're getting divorced. Quote unquote, because he deserves better. Now, as someone who does have like a semi-50s aesthetic and is a stay-at-home mom, I often get lumped into this idea of being a trad wife. But I want to start off by saying there's nothing wrong with having traditional gender roles as long as that's something as the woman you want to participate in and you feel safe and supported in doing so. Same thing with dressing modestly. I don't think there's a problem with a woman choosing to dress modestly or a woman choosing to stay home with her children because that's how she feels the most fulfilled. I think the problem comes in when that's the type of woman a man is searching for, because usually they're doing that to search for somebody who they can be dominant over. And trad wife content can kind of lean into the fantasies of men like this, these men who are wishing to have this submissive, dominant role within their marriages. And what you see online absolutely has an element of fantasy and cosplay that gets lost in the social media literacy of some of these viewers. That is one of the reasons I take a lot of issue with trad wife creators on TikTok who talk about this being the idealized and natural role of a woman. Because although that might be right for you, making that a broad generalized statement can do some real harm to actual women and actual marriages, like in that article.
Am I not understanding about Ballerina Farm and Nara Smith becoming the face of like the resurgence of tradwife culture? Those are unbelievably successful working women. And what you are observing is their work. What do you think a tradwife is? Like they have children that they love and care for, but like they cook? It's like calling Rachel Ray a trad wife because she has a cooking show. Especially Nara Smith, she's like always talking about her and her husband, how they split childcare. Like that is not trad wife.
There's a recent trend of videos circulating on here about trad wives and, you know, how you don't see women in their 40s and 50s glamorizing that life. And yeah, because it sucks. I was a trad wife and I never expected that I would be one. I kind of ended up somewhat against my will. Around my 1-year anniversary, I was told, your job is stressing you out too much. You are taking it out on me. It's sabotaging the marriage. And you have to make a choice. I remember where I was sitting, what I was eating when that conversation went down, and the sinking feeling I had. And I didn't want to give up my very successful, high-earning career. But I thought, what kind of person would I be if I chose a job over family? So I chose family. And 10 years later, I realized that it completely destroyed my life. Always keep a job. Always have some sort of way to have an income stream. Get paid for what you're doing. Make sure there are protections. Make sure things get titled in your name. Don't believe the future faking. don't get your foot out of your career. Take care of yourself. Yeah, it might be nice and fun to take care of your husband, and you can still do that, but always take care of yourself, because the tides turn real fucking fast, especially when they're holding all the cards and they want you to do things a certain way, and after years and years of doing it a certain way, you decide to stand up for yourself. They fall out of love with you real fucking fast. So take care of yourself, always.
Marceline, is it just you and me in the wreckage of the world? There must be